The CORE GTS6 is a master in megaloops and the official video will show you. But there's way more to it, so keep on watching to find out. What's up everybody, I'm here today in the Netherlands and behind me is the CORE GTS6. It's the 6th edition of the GTS lineup, and little side note, the GTS is actually the kite that brought me to CORE about 7 years back, I think.
It wasn't easy, but nothing is.
It's funny to stand here and talk about the new version. Obviously it's the 6th version, so a lot has changed over time, but today I'll talk about a few things which you can see down in the time code. Let's start with point number 1, why I love the GTS6, or actually the GTS line in general. The GTS line has always been a very responsive and performance-oriented kite that's still very accessible due to its future C-shape. It has loads of D-power, but once you take it out riding on the water and you start unhooking, for instance, the kite will pack loads of explosive pop and a lot of slack. Therefore it was my kite of choice, riding, unhooked and everything considering a twin tip. But where it really started making a name for itself is in a big air scene. This kite packs a punch in the loops and you can send it so low in the megaloops without having to worry about the kite not recovering, that it became my kite of choice and for loads of other riders when the conditions are harsh, like Red Bull Megaloop or Red Bull King of the Air. Okay, so how does the GTS6 stack up towards the other kites in a Universal Plus series? Like for instance the Nexus 2 and the XR kite. The Nexus 2 is more wave orientated, where the XR is also twin tip orientated, but mainly meant for easy accessibility, free riding and insane big air with hang time. If you compare the GTS towards the Nexus 2, you're going to find that the GTS is way more explosive, especially in those loops. If you start unhooking, you have better direct bar feeling and a bigger slack. And it's just a little bit more of a performance feel. The kite is fast and needs to be steered in the right direction and in the right way to get the power. Where with the Nexus, sometimes you can cheat a little bit by pulling down the bar and using the power on demand. That doesn't make the Nexus a bad twin tip kite, it's just a bit more playful and less direct, which makes it more suited for learning certain tricks. And once you have those tricks down, the feeling of landing them on the GTS, it's uncomparable. When we start comparing the GTS to the XR will have a lot of power on demand because of its open shape. It will also provide a lot of D-power and hang time. But on the other hand, you might find the XR a little bit slow. And if you want a faster kite that's more explosive with more of a sporty feel, the GTS is definitely the way to go. Alright, GTS 5 versus GTS 6. As this is already the 6th edition of this kite, you don't want to make changes that are too big. Customers learn to love a feeling, riders got familiar with a feeling, and if you make major changes, that can have bad impacts. So, what were the designer goals for this year? High wind stability, predictable flight characteristics, more feedback, or actually more bar feedback when making small steering movements, and last but not least, let the kite turn more from the tip. So, how did our kite designer Frank get there? First of all, he changed the strut material. We went from Exotex to Exotex Light. This is the same what we did with the Nexus, and it opens up a couple of possibilities. By changing that kite material, he could make the struts a little bit fatter, which obviously makes for more stability. Next to that, he was able to go to the leading edge and change the last third of the leading edge to a thicker diameter. This is something you're especially going to notice in the high winds, as your kite will just be way more stable and not make those small movements in the tip that can throw you off. With that, he also created better bar feedback. So especially on the light and small steering movements, you're going to feel or you're going to notice when the kite steers. On the GTS5 sometimes you're riding in strong conditions and your tip is moving a little bit, and all of a sudden your kite is pointing a little bit more up and you didn't know because you gave a little bit of bar input but didn't get the feedback. Now, I took this kite out in a couple of storms lately, and you can definitely feel it when you make those small steering movements. And I'm so happy that it's now even more stable, which makes all those moves that we did in the GTS6 official video with Joshua, Emmanuel and Anjali, it makes all that stuff possible. It's crazy how much you can push with this kite. And that brings us to my favorite setting. We have the CIT modes and the steering line adjustments. I have to be super honest with you, I leave those steering line adjustments just the way they are. I really like it to not change too much when it comes out of the stock package. So it's really easy, I got used to it. It's on the fast steering mode when you take it out. And I actually love it because it also gives you less bar pressure, and therefore it's way easier to pull those one-handed loops and take your board off at the same time. Then we get to the CIT modes, and this is where you're really going to notice a difference. I always go to the lowest CIT point, which is closest to the tip of the kite, because it just brings me that extra stability in the kite. The kite will pull more into a C shape and therefore give you more of a stable power when riding. The downside is you'll have a little bit less D-power, but I'd rather have a stable frame over D-power. You're also going to notice that the kite will turn even more from the tip if you go all the way on that CIT point. If you go in the other direction, so all the way up towards the middle of the kite will open up a little bit. When the kite opens up, you're going to get more D-power, but also a little bit of a less stable frame. If you're planning to take this kite out into the waves, or you basically just want to have more play to make mistakes, you can always move it up and have the easier riding session. And then obviously we have the middle point, which is a mix of both. So feel free to experiment with that and play around till you have the right one. And with that, we already get to the end of this video. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. Really appreciate a like and a subscription if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you on the next one.